Typically, our first step is to request information from the practice, primarily in the accounts receivable realm. We'll look at specific models to determine how are they actually performing, and we take a deep dive into the accounts receivable to find whether there are episodic scenarios occurring or are there trends that have basically caused the business to deteriorate over time. And once we have a framework of that, then we actually go on site and meet with the physician, and we meet with the business office staff, share our findings, answer questions that are basically illuminated by the findings, and at that point we're able to start to develop a specific plan of action for not only the improvement but possible relief of cash in the short term, and determine what the long-term prospects should be for the accounts receivable performance. A great example of a short-term turnaround scenario was a large radiology practice professional component where a physician had taken over the finance and billing component, and he didn't know enough about the business to say, you know, how are we doing? So he brought us in to do an analysis, and the group had been performing to their perspective okay, and they really didn't know what they didn't know. And when we came in, did the initial assessment, we found that they were 60 days behind on charge entry. They were 30 days behind on coding. So there were roughly 90 days worth of radiology services sitting outside of the billing system that should have already been billed and collected. What this created was more than a $2 million surge in cash for the practice over the next 3 months as we were able to reduce those backlogs. So from a short-term perspective, we look to find what we call the pent-up cash, things that are there, we know it's collectible, we focus the effort to go and get it. Now, those often lead to longer-term performance improvements as the processes are changed as a result of some of these short-term fixes. A good example of a long-term engagement in which we were involved included a 17-doc radiology practice that had not only professional component billing but as well as several imaging centers. Here we were brought in to supplement the staff. They had gone through a bad conversion. They were having short-term pain. We helped them in the short term, and then the administrator decided, hey, we believe you can help us in the long term. So what we did then is engage for the next 18 months and supplemented their processes and created a situation where the doctors indicated to the administrator that that's the best, over the next 18 months, the best cash collections they've ever had as far as a group was concerned.